would you say that this statement that I'm about to give you is true? Would you say that this is true? That when you don't understand something's purpose, you will end up misusing it, misunderstanding it, and mistreating it. Yes? Maybe? Well, let me prove it to you. As you can see in a second, this torch has fire, real fire, that's right. Now, we know the purpose of fire. We know what it can do. We know that fire is great because it brings warmth. We know that fire can cook food for us. We know that it can also bring light in the darkness. But this same fire, when taken outside of where it's designed to be, outside of its true purpose, can not only be dangerous, but it can be destructive. See, fire inside a fireplace brings warmth to your home, right? But fire in your house, whoo, that's devastation. Fire in a fire pit, that's fun, right? You get s'mores, hang out with friends. But fire in a forest destroys everything in its path. See, fire was meant to be in a space that it was created for with the purpose that it was created for. Itself isn't bad. The problem is when it goes outside of its design, when it goes outside of its purpose. See, we'd all agree that fire works best and is reaching its full potential when it stays where it's designed to be. Right? Yeah? Well, and honestly, I think that's true about everything in life, not just fire, even though this thing's getting crazy. Woo. It's true about everything in life. And honestly, what I would call that is real freedom. Real freedom is not no boundaries. Real freedom is living the way you were designed to live. That's true freedom. See, our culture wants to believe something completely different. Culture wants to say, no, freedom is living with no limits, no labels, doing what feels right. But that's not real freedom. See, freedom is functioning the way you were created to function. It's not to be found anywhere else. See, true freedom is when you live the way your Creator designed you to live. God didn't give boundaries to try to control us or to keep us in a box. No, He gave boundaries to protect us, to protect our purpose. That's why we've been given boundaries in life. And when you don't know the purpose of something, you get to reshape it, use it however you want, give it your own purpose even. And here's the truth. Our enemy, the enemy, has done exactly that. He's twisted our world into thinking they can do whatever they want with relationships, that we can do whatever we want with relationships. We can categorize them and make them whatever we want. You know, last week, Pastor Nate gave an incredible message, and if you didn't get to hear it yet, you gotta go back and watch it. But he said one line in there that really stuck out to me, and he said this: one of the clearest ways we show we're unashamed of Jesus is by trusting Him with our relationships. And that's what this whole series has been about. Do you trust God with your relationships? Do you trust Him with the past? Do you trust Him with the present? And tonight, do you trust Him with your future? And yes, future relationship does mean marriage. I know, right? Marriage. We're talking about marriage at United. So don't tune out. Don't think, oh my goodness, that is too far down the road. I'm not even thinking about that yet. Because here's what we're going to learn, is what you believe and think about marriage will determine how you live today. What your thoughts are and what your perception is of marriage will determine how you live today. So don't tune me out. Don't go to sleep. Stay awake for this one, because you're not going to want to miss what we're going to talk about and answer tonight. So tonight we got to answer this question. Because we've done this whole thing in this world of reshaping and repurposing marriage, we have to go back to the basics. What is marriage? What is it? And we're going to answer that. The first thing that we see, though, is that marriage was God's idea. Marriage wasn't invented by culture or created by the government, or it didn't just happen when two people finally fell in love. Marriage was and always has been God's idea. We see it in the very beginning, right? In the creation moment, in Genesis, we see where God is creating all things. He's creating the world. He creates the sun and the stars, and he says it's very good. He creates the animals and the fish, and he says it's good. But then he gets to his first not good. And his first not good is when he creates man, and he says it is not good for man to be alone. And in so doing that, what God does, is he takes Adam and he actually takes a side of Adam and creates what Genesis refers to as a helper suitable for him. That's Eve, that's woman. See, what that moment looks like and what that moment was to share was that God was making marriage to be two people that complement one another. That man and woman will fit together and complement each other. Guys, marriage was always a good gift from God. He saw that Adam was alone and said, that's not good. Let me give him a wife. That's good. This idea of man and woman being designed to fit together isn't just the Old Testament, though. It's not way back when. We also see it in the New Testament. We see Jesus himself talk about marriage. When he talks about it, he's asked this question about marriage, and he doesn't redefine it. He goes back to the beginning. You can follow this in Matthew 19, where Jesus talks about marriage. He says this in verse 4. Haven't you read, he replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female? And he said, for this reason, man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one. Weird math, I know. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. You have to see what Jesus says. You notice what he says. He says, God made them male and female. It's not random. That's not cultural even. That's design and that's intention. From the start, God created two distinct sexes, male and female, and he brought them together in marriage. Jesus doesn't leave it vague. He doesn't even leave it up for debate or question. He's clear. He's affirming that from the very beginning, that marriage intention was between one man, one woman, becoming one. 1 + 1 = 1. That was God's ultimate intention. And he doesn't say it to limit people or to keep us in a box. He does it to reveal design. See, if that's what that means, that there is more to marriage than what we think, then that means that God is intentional. Like, God is so intentional and so in the details of everything, and he's so purposeful. That's why he created us male and female. But not only was it God's design, marriage is also a promise and not just feelings. Which honestly is not how we view it. I think we view it the opposite way. I mean, even ask yourself as you sit there, the movies, the shows, the way culture portrays marriage, maybe even in your own home, how marriage has been portrayed is so very different. It's all about feeling. We chop it up to even one day, it's about finding the one, or getting to live with the person that you're head over heels for, or maybe even it's the happily ever after. And none of those are bad things, thanks Disney, but if that's all it is, then we've missed it. We've missed the point of marriage. Marriage was never intended to make you happy. It was designed to be something holy. That's why we call it holy matrimony. But unfortunately, many of us have settled. We settle for convenience and comfort. That's part of why we're seeing more people choosing to not get married and just living together. I learned this recently, that 40% of your generation, are living in what is called a non-traditional home. A non-traditional home means either a single-parent home or with parents that are not married. And every family has its own story. But culturally, there's been a shift where some living together is just way more convenient and more comfortable than actually getting married. It feels easier. You don't have to put too much in. It saves finances, it saves time, it saves effort. But what that's doing is putting a contract where there should be a covenant. And here's what I mean by that. See, back way in the Bible, a contract and a covenant were two very different things. A contract was more of like an agreement with somebody, an exchange for goods or a service. Is I'll give you this if you give me that, right? So if you give me your goat, I'll give you my wheat. I don't know, whatever I did back then. But if someone did not follow through on that promise, it was done. They just broke it off. It's whatever. But a covenant was something way deeper. A covenant was a binding promise. See, in the Bible, a covenant was actually signified by a sacrifice, an animal sacrifice. And this is going to sound kind of gruesome, but what they would do is they would take this animal and they would cut it in half. They would split the two pieces apart and then walk through it 7 times. And in doing so, this is what they're saying. If we break our promise, may what has been done to this animal be done to us. See, a covenant wasn't casual. It was life binding. And the difference between a covenant and a contract is huge. See, a contract says, I'll keep my part as long as you keep yours. Where a covenant says, I'm staying committed, even when it costs me something. United marriage isn't based on feelings, but choosing to love even when you don't feel it. The greatest example of this is Jesus. I mean, think about what he did. He walked to the cross. And what we know from the Bible is that he, before that time going to the cross, actually prayed to his Father and said, if there's any other way, can I not do this? I gotta tell you, he probably wasn't feeling happy. He probably recognized what I'm about to do isn't convenient and it's not comfortable. But he chose to do it anyways. Why? Because he loves us. That's love. It's choosing in the face of not being comfortable, convenient, or even being happy. Jesus' example is what we should live and understand to be true love. That's why you need to know marriage isn't just a piece of paper. It's more. It's not as long as you make me happy, I'll stay. It's before God, I'm choosing you for life. That's marriage. That's God's original intent for marriage. And that kind of commitment doesn't come from feelings, but it comes from faithfulness. Faithfulness. What a gift. I don't know if you realize it, and I know I'm making it sound really, really extreme, because at moments it is, but what a gift it is to know that a marriage, when it's stepped in a godly way, isn't based on feelings. Because y'all know our feelings change all the time, right? Like they are fickle, they go up and down. Something bad happens, we're mad. Something good happens, we're happy. I mean, 7th graders, you know, you liked a boy 2 weeks ago, and now this week you can't stand him, right? Your feelings change constantly. And to think a marriage is based on feelings, what anxiety and insecurity would you live with? But marriage, thankfully, isn't based on feelings. It should be based on faithfulness. And what a good gift that is. But sadly, many of you have seen what happens when marriage is treated more like a contract. When it's based on feelings instead of faithfulness. I want to show you this picture because my husband and I actually just celebrated 10 years of marriage. So this is our wedding picture. Yeah, super cute. Now, I also need to set the record straight here. You will look at that guy, and maybe he resembles a little bit of Pastor Nate, but he is not Pastor Nate. I am not married to Pastor Nate Ritchie. Just want to clear that air, make sure it's all out there in the open. I married his brother, all right? So, yes, so that is my husband, not Pastor Nate. Just had to make sure we all got that. So, why do I share this? Why am I sharing 10 years of marriage that we just got to celebrate? I share it because of this. In high school, I had 3 best friends. 3 best friends. We all loved God. We all loved Jesus. And when we got to finally find that guy, that person, our person, we ended up finding them all in the same time, which meant we all got married around the same time, which was really cool. So we got to be in each other's weddings. I got to hear my friends say their vows. They got to hear mine and make this commitment to our spouse. It was awesome. But now we are about 8, 9, 10 years, 11 years down the road, and 3 out of those 2 best friends of mine, or 2 out of the 3 best friends of mine are already divorced. 2 out of 3 are already divorced. Some of you know the stats. You know the stat that says almost 50% of marriages today will end in divorce. And I gotta tell you, that's a number, but it's real. It's a real thing. And I'm gonna ask each location to do something for me. I'm gonna ask this question in this way. Would you raise your hand if you've been impacted by either someone in your family or someone you know that's been divorced? See, this is when the stat becomes real. This is when a number becomes real. See, marriage, if it's just a contract, then relationships are temporary. If marriage is just about feelings, then when feeling fades, you can call it quits. And when we've lost the value of marriage, we will always settle for convenient over commitment. This way of living impacts lives. And that's exactly why God has intention behind how he designed marriage. Because it not only affects the 2 people, it affects many more, as you just saw. But here's the other thing that marriage is marriage is a shared mission. See, marriage is not just about finding the one to live with. It's bigger than you think. It's finding someone to live with something for. See, going back to Genesis, when God brought man and woman together, he immediately gave them purpose. Immediately. In Genesis 1, we see this, that God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. He tells them to have kids, and he tells them to take care of the earth. He gives them responsibility. He gives them purpose. Marriage has always been more than just romance. It's been about responsibility as well. And then in Ephesians 5, where the Apostle Paul is talking directly to husbands and wives, he says this, that the mission of marriage is to reflect Christ and the church. That the mission of marriage is to reflect Christ and the church. That means this, a godly marriage should show others Jesus. They should point others to Jesus even. Meaning my husband and our marriage, the way he loves me, the way he sacrifices for me, and the way I love him and respect him should point others to Jesus. It should make people fall more in love with Jesus. That's what I'm saying. That's what a godly marriage should do. It's becoming a living picture of God's love for us. United, that's a huge mission. That's a big deal that can't be taken lightly. And how cool is it to know you don't have to do it on your own? That this mission that we've been given to share and show Christ's love, you get to do it with someone you love. You have a partner in that. You don't have to carry it alone. So that's marriage. And now you're probably thinking, why does this matter now? I'm in 6th grade, I'm in 10th grade. Why do I care right now what marriage is? Because what you believe about marriage will shape how you live today. I need you to know this. Your teen years aren't a waiting room, they're a training room. It's not time to sit around, it's time to get ready. Many of you are athletes, and you would know that if you were to ever go up to your coach on the day of the big game and say, hey, coach, I didn't practice this week, and I did not train, but I hope we win. No. You practice, you train, you work hard, or when it comes to exams, you don't stare in the mirror and say, I'm going to pass. Some of you do, I know you do, but you know what happens. You don't pass. You have to prepare. You have to train. You have to work hard. In every area of life, preparation is what leads to success. If your future commitment is meant to mean anything, you have to prepare for it now. And trust me, you don't magically wake up one day and become a good husband or a good wife. If you're selfish now, if you're emotionally immature now, if you're addicted to attention now, and if you are compromising your purity now, you can bet that you will carry that into your marriage later. Despite popular thought, marriage doesn't fix you, it reveals you. So the person you are becoming right now is the person you'll bring into marriage later. And time is so precious. The time we have now, we will never get back. And that's why the Apostle Paul reminds us of this in Ephesians 5, where he says, be very careful then how you live. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. The enemy would love for you to waste your years right now. Would love for you to waste your time as a teenager and say, it doesn't matter what happens right now. You can change when you get older. You can fix that when you get older. You can stop that when you get older. But what we're understanding, what we're seeing right now is God has purpose in your time right now. And it's to prepare you for what's to come. So how do you do that? How do you prepare right now? Honestly, this is what the whole series has been about. Each one of these things you can look at every week. We've hit on one of these. And the first one is this, is by becoming the right person. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. Let that sit for a second. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So we need to stop obsessing one day about finding the one, the perfect one, and maybe start becoming someone worth finding. Growing in our character, our self-control, our integrity, and our faithfulness. If you would like a godly spouse one day, start becoming a godly person today. Or another way this could be said is start becoming the person you'll one day is looking for. You can let that one sit for a second too. Another way we can prepare, though, is by protecting our purity. Culture screams at you daily. Practice, experiment, it's no big deal. But purity isn't about rules, it's about protecting something that's sacred. Your body and your heart are not practice zones. And when you treat intimacy casually now, you're training your heart for temporary instead of permanent later. Think of it like this. You're getting the benefits of marriage now without committing, which will only lead you to heartbreak later. The next way is by dating with purpose or not dating. That is an option. Because like we just said, how you live is a picture of what you think of marriage, and so is dating. Dating is a picture of what you think about marriage. So if you're doing this, if you're dating and breaking up, if you're dating and then breaking up, if you're dating and then breaking up, understand that you're training your mind to think that this is how a relationship is supposed to work. That this kind of repetition is telling your mind, this is normal. So when things get hard, you quit. Or when things are going well, you self-sabotage. Why? Because you practiced divorce by playing house in your teen years. You've trained your mind to only allow comfort and convenience, not true commitment. So middle schoolers, I want to say this to you. You don't need a boyfriend or girlfriend to survive. You will be okay. I promise you that. You will make it. You will be okay. You don't need a boyfriend or girlfriend right now. So hold off as long as you can. Use this time to learn who God's made you to be. That's the best thing you can do. High schoolers, if you're dating, if you plan to date, you need to ask yourself this: is this moving me toward a God-honoring future, or is it just fulfilling my emotions and selfish desires? See, if you treat dating like a game now, you'll treat marriage the same way later. And we recognize that dating is not marriage, and we can't treat it like it is, but Dating can prepare us. So let it prepare you and not distract you from Jesus. The last way you can prepare is this, though, by building your mission now. The best marriages, they're not two people obsessed with each other. They're two people obsessed with Jesus. If you're not running after God now, on your own, you won't magically run after God together. Here's the best thing you can do right now, is run full-fledged, full speed in the direction of Jesus. And as you get down the road a little bit, maybe use your peripherals and look to the side, and the left and right, and see who's running at the same speed, in the same direction. And maybe one day that's the person. Can I ask you to fall in love with Jesus first? Learn your calling, learn your passions, your giftings, your purpose even. Because when marriage comes one day, you get to share that with your spouse. You get to share that with that person. And what an incredible gift that is in marriage. So here's the question I want to end with. Where do you need to commit today? Not to who, but to what? See, the greatest commitment that you can make in your teen years is not to a boyfriend or to a girlfriend. It's to Jesus. When I was in high school, I can remember actually in our youth group, we went through a similar series on sex, dating, relationships, all the stuff. And at the end of the series, they asked us to make this commitment to stay sexually pure. I was like, great, that's a good thing. But I think it fell short because I was so focused on not messing up that I missed the whole point of it. It wasn't so much about not messing up. It was about falling more in love with Jesus. See, because purity isn't the ultimate goal. Marriage isn't even the ultimate goal. But being like Christ is. And if you want a marriage on mission someday, it starts by living on mission today. And that happens through your daily choices, your obedience, your character, and your surrender. See, when you choose Jesus first, you're preparing for a covenant long before you even stand at that altar. United, that's freedom. That's living in the way you were designed to live. And today, if you're open to that and realizing I have not been living like that, been actually living the opposite, but I want to start, would you do something for me? Would you just bow your heads and close your eyes? And if you want to say, I want to start that, I want to start living that way instead of the way I have been, a simple gesture you can do right where you're sitting is just open your hands up. Just opening your hands as a symbol of saying, God, I'm open to that commitment today. Lord Jesus, as you are with us even here in this moment, you see the hands that are open, that either are recognizing they have not been living like this, or even recognizing they didn't even know that this is what you were asking of them to do. And so, God, as they are here with their hands open, God, I'm asking that you would meet them where they're at. That you would walk with them as they do what they can, as they work the hardest they can, the best they can. God, and you will meet them in the gaps too. Because God, we know we all don't have perfect examples around us. But Jesus, when we look to you, you are the perfect example. So remind us of that. Remind us of our purpose. And remind us that true freedom is when we live in your design. We love you. We thank you. And all God's children said, amen.